supposed to be. Right where I'm supposed to be. Right in your hand, oh. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Where the safety is, where your goodness is. Oh, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. If you're looking for me, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Right where I'm supposed to be. No regrets, no worries, 'cause I'm right where I'm supposed to be. No regrets, no worries, 'cause I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Right in your arms, right in your hand. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Right in your love, right in your queen. I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Greetings and welcome to Under the Palm Into the Soul. My name is Jandrea Kabuya, and I'm the founder and CEO of Palm of Deborah Restoration and Life Center. I am joined today by Teresa Miller. She is going to be talking with us about understanding the importance of knowing your identity. Let me introduce our guest. Teresa Miller is the founder and chief reset officer of Harvest Y Identity Powerhouse.
It's identity.
Excuse me,
It is identity, yes.
Powerhouse. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
A person developer, published author, and speaker who believes leadership starts long before the title, position, or corner office. It starts with knowing and accepting yourself. At the heart of everything that she does is a simple belief. Before we can lead others well, we have to be willing to look inwardly, understand our story and ourselves, and become intentional about the leader we are becoming. And so, Teresa, tell us a little bit about your story, your background. Why do you feel like it's so important for us to understand and know our identity?
A little bit about my background. Number one, we're in Indian Trail, and I'm a Union County girl.
All right,
But so only child. Mom, she was married, but she became a single mother at a point in time, and my dad was addicted to drugs for a lot of my life.
Okay.
But he was a loving man, so I don't want to discredit my dad at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I ended up having my son when I was 13.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of my identity was wrapped up in being a mom.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got married at 19. Then I had my next child when I was 20.
Mm.
So everything about me was, okay, I need to take care of people. I need to be in place to be able to do this thing for this person.
Yes.
Because at 13, it was no longer about me, right?
Of course.
So everything I did was about performing. Everything it was about doing. It was never about being.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I knew there was a God. I knew God loved me. I knew all those things. But what I didn't know is who I was in God or who God was in me.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a really big thing for me. And it lasted for a very long time, up until I was probably in my late 30s before I actually began to say, okay, I need to take a pause. Let me figure out what I have going on with me. But it followed a traumatic experience that I dealt with.
Okay.
And at that point, I've heard you mention before that you had like suicidal ideations or
yes.
thoughts. So at this time, that's where I'm at, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? I can't stay here.
Yes.
Because I actually put myself in a position to get in my car, and all the thoughts of what I was going to do that day, actually, I'm driving and I'm thinking that thing through.
Wow.
And I'm actually heading to do what I say I'm going to do.
Oh my goodness.
That would have put me not in a position of being able to talk to you today. So, but because I am a firm believer in my God, I heard God's voice clearly. All it was one sentence: your children need you, right?
Wow. Yes.
And I'm thinking like, that is not very profound. Like, I know my kids need me. Like, so what you saying, God, right? And so I just kept going, but it, you know, it didn't stop at that moment. I still kept pressing forward. I drove for over an hour, like contemplating the thing that I wanted to do.
Wow.
And eventually I got to a place where I made a phone call. I made more than one phone call because somebody needs to help me like now, even though I didn't want to be honest about what it was I needed them for.
Yes.
I just needed someone to rescue me, right?
Yes.
And so I made a phone call, and one of my children's aunt, she actually was like, okay, well, you come to the house. And I spent the whole next day with her. And I just shared little bits and pieces of things, you know, right? And she was like, no, you shouldn't feel this way about this or that. And like, she was a lifesaver for me that day, even though I know God got it, the direction of everything.
Of course.
Because I'm going to give credit where credit is due. But
Absolutely.
she was in position. And I'm glad I listened to him say, hey, call this individual. And so we spent all day together. And it was funny, y'all, because people were trying to contact me. And I had a cousin to text me. She said, I'm going to tell you what, if you don't answer this phone, I'm calling the police and I'm going to have them at your house. So I'm still in that image space, right? It's not about identity. It's about my image.
Of course.
And I'm like, I wish she would call the police to come out to my house. You're going to have them out there looking out there in my neighborhood. Yes. The devil is a lie, right? So no, you're not going to embarrass me. So I'm like, girl, I'm good. You know, so, but it was because it had always been about my image.
That's
and
right.
Showing up as a strong mom,
That's
showing up as a strong leader, showing up as performing, doing.
That's right.
That's all it was. It was never about who is Teresa? What was she put on this earth for? Why is she living the life she's living, and what is it going to build towards next? It was never about any of that. It was I was living on autopilot, right? Because I only know what I seen. My parents worked, they went to school, they didn't finish school. So not that I had a bad life, it just was not the complete life that I would have chosen for myself. But you can only mimic what you see.
That's right.
Right. And that's where I was. And so I was a ball of confusion. I'm going to be honest. And the one thing, and I brought up the piece about God and where I was and what he spoke about my kids, because eventually 2 months later, my children lost their dad. Wow. Had I chose to do what I was going to do that day, they would have been parentless 2 months apart. And I didn't see it until way later when I started paying attention to it.
Yes.
And a lot of it was really because I didn't know myself. I'm going to be very, very honest. Because if I knew the strength that I had in me, if I knew that God like called me to lead, if I knew that God called me to be a woman of God who was going to stand firm to build other leaders, and to push forward with my kids, like those things, because I made up in my mind, look, they got enough insurance policy, my house will be paid for. Look, them kids gonna be all right, right? So that's where I was at. But it was a lie. Like it was a lie from the pits of hell at the end of the day. And that was the time where I really started focusing on, okay, I got to pause. Because what would have happened to my entire family? Our whole family line could have got washed out, right? It could have been me, my kids, and their dad gone, because how do I know how my kids would have handled that afterwards? It could have been depression. It could have been a lot of things to come, because now I just lost both of my parents. My kids were 17 and 24 at that time. So I'm glad that did not happen. And that was the time that opened up my eyes, and I started going to self-development classes and stuff. Like the first thing I took was called IPOM, which is In Pursuit of Me. The light bulb came on while I was in that class. And my children's dad passed while I was in that class. But it's so wonderful how God orchestrates things, right? And so I was in the right place at the right time, even though I had the wrong ideas about things and I had the wrong thoughts about me. But that changed so quickly. After I got through that class, I was like, okay, so I know why my brain works like this sometimes, and why I look at people like that, you know, or whatever. So it opened a lot of doors for me to be able to walk into my identity versus me always trying to keep an image in front of everybody, because I want you all to see me strong. People would always be like, Teresa is the one that we can call for money, or Teresa is the one that we can call because she goes through stuff like a soldier, right? And all the while I'm over here, I'm crumbling, I'm shrinking, you know, and nobody knows how to help bring me up, because I'm always the one that's, girl, you got it, dude. Hey, come on, bro. Like, you know, that's me. Nobody could see when I needed someone to help me swim.
That's right.
So that's, I don't even know if I really answered your question.
You
but-
did. Yes, you answered it thoroughly. And I thank
Okay.
you so much for making the choice to still remain here.
Thank you.
You know, because we share that same thing in common. I also, like you said, I had the issues with, you know, wanting to leave here. And, you know, the thought of leaving my children at that moment, it's a selfish act.
It is.
You know, because you're only thinking
100%.
about what's going on, and it's a circumstance and a situation.
Yep.
You're not looking at the future, but you're looking at that moment right then.
Mhm.
And the enemy will speak to you and make you think like you're alone, you're by yourself, no one cares, no one hears you, no one sees you, you know, and there are all these lies that pile up. And it's like, okay, well, I might as well just go ahead and do it then,
It's true.
you know? But I made the conscious decision to remain here because I know that God had a purpose, and he had a purpose for your life.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so I thank God for you, and that you made the right choice to remain here in the land of the living,
yes,
so that we can hear your voice. Your voice is being amplified. And many people, the Bible talks about how it's like a trumpet. You know, so many people need to hear your testimony of how you overcame that. And so tell us about your organization and what it is that you do to build leaders, and how has that impacted other people around you?
So I first became a coach, a certified coach. So I do have two different coaching certifications. One is a career coach, and one is just a transformational. It's not a just, it is a transformational coach. Yes, I would not minimize anything. So I did go through the training for coaching. So that's where I started my journey after becoming an entrepreneur or solopreneur, parapreneur, however you want to say it, because I do still work. But I started out in that space, and then I became a published author. And I do have 2 books.
Wow.
And approaching my 3rd, and I'm hoping to do that release in August of 2026, which will be From Busy to Business, From Performance to Purpose.
Very nice.
So,
and tell us about your other 2 books as well.
The first one is called Audacity to Love. It's an anthology with me and 4 other women in it. And it's really about a healing journey. And so I have a chapter in there where I'm kind of talking about a portion of the story that I told today. And during that time, it unlocked another place in my identity, because while we were walking through that whole process, she said, people are not going to be free because you won't be honest. Like, I was holding back so much because I was ashamed of being able to say 100% what had happened with me that day. And once I finally let it out, I gave such a vivid picture of what was happening. I walked down my stairs, I got in my car, I drove down the road, I can hear the road noise. Like, I gave it so much imagery that people would say, girl, it was like I was with you when I was reading your chapter, but oh my God, I can't believe this is where you were at, right? So it gave people enough to be free from some of the things, if they felt like there was some shame attached to anything or some guilt attached to some thoughts that they had. It was a freeing opportunity because I was transparent and vulnerable. And I'm glad she pushed me in that space, because I was like, yeah, nah, I'm not telling people that. Like, I'm the G of all G's, right? So I did not want to be that girl. But it reminds me of me going to my dance class, and my dance teacher, she said, do you know you that girl though? You are that girl. And I'm like, am I really? And so now I have opportunities more to say, you know what, I'm that girl, right? Whereas I used to be like, I'm not that girl. I'm unsure what you're talking about, because I did not live in my fullness. And it's still a journey. There are some days where I'm still looking at myself like, I'm not sure, or, you know, I don't have that certain level of confidence, but it put me in a space to be able to get to those books, because I was able to open up and she unlocked the door for me. So the second book is called Figure Yourself Out. It's Time for a Reset, which is where my reset framework came from, which is the next thing that I'm building my material upon. So, and that book is a step-by-step process of going from the R to the T, from realizing up to transforming. And so I am basing a lot of my framework and my leadership work around the reset framework, because there is not going to be a time in our life that we're not resetting. From the time you come out of school to you going to college, from being high school to going to college, from going from college to going to career, from going to career to being a stay-at-home mother, being a stay-at-home mother to being an empty nester. If you eventually, you're constantly resetting your life over and over. What I've learned is people do not reset well.
Okay.
They do not reset well. And the light bulb for that came when I had 3 coaching clients that were between the ages of 66 and 70 years old. And my mind was blown because, we've always been taught you go to your elders to
That's
be able to get
right.
that, gleaning from them.
Of
And I
course.
am the one that they're gleaning
That you're
from.
pouring
And I'm
into
walking
them.
through these processes. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to, I want to be someone whole and strong
Mhm.
and be in position. And I want to be able to dispatch in my lifetime or before my lifetime is up 100,000 other leaders out here that want to be in a space to help build these people up. Because at 66 and 70, we should be living in our prime. And that was heartbreaking for me, right? But it was also liberating. And it gave me a different type of go-getter mentality because I'm like, oh, they won't leave this earth feeling like this thing,
That's
right?
right. You made it your
So,
mission.
yeah,
Absolutely.
so it gave me a totally different motivation for making sure that I'm in place to be where I need to be for who I need to be there with. Yeah.
Awesome. And then as far as your organization now, so are there classes that leaders or potential leaders take, or how does that work?
So honestly, I've been dealing more on the personal side of it, and I'm
Okay.
building my leadership framework. But what I do is I use my tools at work with the leaders that I'm building.
Gotcha. Okay.
Currently. So that's my ground, right?
Okay.
But on the other side of it, the people that I work with on the outside, because I partner with others, we're getting ready to do a retreat in October.
Yes.
And
tell us about the retreat.
so it's a relax, relate, release. Everybody, the Whitney Gilbert relax, relate,
Release.
relax,
relate.
resets retreat. And all of these women have been leaders in some right, mothers, whether they work at a school being teachers. So in this space, I'm going to use my reset framework. Different ones of us are going to have different portions of it, but I will speak to that reset portion of it because we all are in a space where it's time for us to re-ground ourselves in some type of way. And a lot of times we're not thinking of it because no one is taking the time and we're too busy doing things that we're not even paying attention to what's going on with us. So it's going to be one of the first things that I launch from the reset framework specifically.
Awesome. And then for individuals that are struggling with knowing who they are and finding their purpose and their identity, what would you say to those individuals?
I would say, number one, you came in this world by yourself. You didn't come in here with a wife. You did not come in here with a husband. You did not come in here with kids. Go back to where you came from. Remember the dreams, the thoughts, the things that you had coming up as a kid. Because a lot of that stuff plays over into your latter years because the seeds are already being planted in you. The Lord knew us before we were in our mother's womb.
That's right.
Which means that there were things that he was already planting in us through that time, right?
Absolutely.
And so there's a time you're going to have to go back and you're going to have to reassess yourself. What am I doing? Why am I doing it? And where is what I'm doing taking me? And if it's not taking you on a path where it is something where you feel fulfillment, you feel like you're a whole individual, if you feel like you're just doing the thing because the thing is to be done, it's time to take a step back and look at what that looks like, because you're operating out of that autopilot type mentality. Oh, it's got to be done, so I'm gonna do it. No. What are you being? Who are you becoming because of this thing? You can become a multi-millionaire and still be empty.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
So you don't want to be that empty individual. You want to be someone that has purpose, pushing your path. So, and all of that is going to come back to what's on the inside of you to be able to push out to other people, and mainly yourself. Because if you can't lead you well, you certainly not going to lead anybody else well. I've learned that because even with my kids, now that I'm getting older and I'm doing things a different way, I'm like, you know what? I probably wouldn't have yelled at them like that if, even though it was a place of love because that's what I learned. Now I'm a disciplinarian. That's not going to change. But the way I done it would have been different if I would have knew a little bit more about who I am and who God built me to be, right?
Yes.
So I wouldn't have done it out of reaction or what I thought I knew about how to live or how to lead or how to parent or whatever. So I would say pause. to be able to reset yourself, like reflect on where you are, evaluate what is happening in your life, simplify some of the processes that you have going on, empower yourself or others to be able to partner and do some things that are going to help things become better for you, and to be able to transform that next piece of your life, right? So that is part of that reset framework. So I would say start there.
Absolutely. And then as it relates to healing and leadership, how do you see the correlation, understanding the importance of people that are not broken and leading? And
this one right here, I'm laughing because sometimes it makes you want to cuss.
Yeah.
And I say that because I've been fumbled so many times by leaders who, once you begin to learn, because I've gone to therapy, I've done, group settings with different people to talk through things from a spiritual aspect, from a therapeutic, or, a clinical aspect, and so me learning that people don't understand their triggers, or they don't understand what has happened to them, is still translating over in their life.
They bleed over to other people.
It does.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
If you don't take time to, because some people say, oh, that's just who I am, that's just who I always been, this is who, no, it's not who you are, it's who you're choosing to be now. Because now there's too many resources out here for us to sit and act like that we don't want to get the help. But some people are okay because they feel like this has helped me win, right?
Exactly.
So being aggressive, or being dominating, or being someone that's able to bulldoze yourself through a situation.
A bully.
Yes. Oh, I'm winning with this attitude.
Exactly. Why change now?
But you're not winning. And then you're losing the people that you're attached to, because they're too fearful of either saying something to you, or they feel like, you know what, I'm just going to fly under the radar. And based on where they are with their identity, their confidence level can be pushed down, because now they feel like I'm in a stuck place and I need to be here. And this is who I have. So I'm just going to have to do the best I can with what I have. Right.
Yes.
And so people not being honest about where they actually fall puts you in a position of not leading people with the proper psychological safety. Like, people want to feel safe when they're in your care.
That's right.
And if I'm attached to you as my leader, please don't make me feel like I can't come here and have a conversation with you, because I don't know if you're going to knock me out today with your cuss words or whatever, because I've been in that space. And because I am that one that don't do like, so I'm always veering on the side of, okay, am I going to lose my job today or what? Because, I'm a different breed. I'm not doing this with you.
Right.
So I really have to compose myself to think through and be intentional about the way that I respond to things, because I care about how I lead other people.
That's right.
And what's the saying? You catch more flies with honey than with vinegar, or whatever. That's it is. Right. Like, come on, you got to soften it sometimes and be honest that you're not being the best leader that you can be. But why are you not being that leader? That's the deeper question.
Awesome. Well, this has been a wonderful experience speaking with you about the importance of knowing and understanding your identity. Sharing your personal testimony has been liberating. I'm sure it's been liberating for me and for so many other people that are watching. What are some ways that individuals can get in touch with you and contact with you if they desire to remain in contact?
Okay, so I do have my own website, and it is harvestidentitypowerhouse.com. Identity is spelled with a Y because it's Hype LLC, because we hype over here.
I love it.
So again, harvestidentitypowerhouse.com, and Teresa at harvestidentitypowerhouse.com if you want to email me. And on Facebook, I am Harvest Miller, and it is Harvest because my name actually, Teresa, stands for harvester or reaper. So that's what the harvest piece comes from, because people don't understand it. So I want y'all to know what it means.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining the session of Under the Palm Into the Soul, Knowing Your Identity. Please continue to stay in connection with me on my YouTube channel, Under the Palm Into the Soul. Until next time, be restored, be healed, and be made whole. God bless you. Bye-bye.
When I ain't have no strength left in me,
show me who they are. Smiling in my face, hating from afar. Had to learn quick, everybody ain't real. Some just love you when it benefit how they feel. Had to cut ties even when it hurt bad.